Good evening. Welcome to another edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show, Red Pill Edition. My name is Leon Jones, and in this segment, I'm going to talk about the Black Lives Matter organization and how the agenda is not for black lives. They actually use the George Floyd death as a way to prop up their real agenda. And their real agenda is a Marxist agenda. So the title of this evening's video is The Black Lives Matter Movement Has a Marxist Agenda. The Black Lives Matter movement has a Marxist agenda. Now, why do I say that? Well, if you look at what's going on here in 2020 with the Black Lives Matter movement, you can go back to the 60s when there was the Black Panther movement. Now, the Black Panthers had good intentions. However, the Black Panther movement was also founded on a Marxist agenda. And when you deal with Marxism, the next step is communism. And the founder of Black Lives Matter admitted that she is a trained Marxist. So what you have going on now is another arm of the Democratic Party. In fact, if you look at the Democratic Party, they founded the Ku Klux Klan. And if you look at all the statues that are being torn down, a number of your Confederate soldiers were Democrats. Now, why are Democrats destroying their own party? Well, number one, they're looking for votes. And number two, they want to erase history because they're really erasing their own guilt. If you look at a lot of these white liberals out here getting down on one knee, they're simply feeling some guilt. But these white liberals want to keep black people from thinking on their own. These white liberals believe that they have a monopoly on African Americans and other minorities. But when it comes to this Black Lives Matter movement, you notice where the Black Lives Matter movements are? They're in all of the major cities. And all of your major cities are run by Democrats. In fact, I saw a black gentleman who was the leader of the New York chapter of Black Lives Matter on Fox News, and he was asked a question by Fox News' Martha McCallum, what do you plan to get out of this movement? And he replied, if you don't give us what we want, we're going to burn everything down. I'm paraphrasing here. In other words, we're going to burn this system down. Well, Martha McCallum should have asked him, if you burn the system down, what are you going to replace it with? Now, I already know what they want to replace it with. They want to replace it with Marxism. Now, here's something that's intertwined that nobody is seeing. When we deal with communism, where are all your communist countries? Or let's say, what is the biggest communist country? The biggest communist country is China. So what we have in America are lefties like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, who are in power. Now, these individuals are Marxists. They're communists. And what they're trying to do is make room for the Chinese to come in and take over our country by utilizing communism. Now, the Chinese are utilizing the Democrats. And of course, if you look at the Democrats, They don't have anything to offer. Now, there was a speech that was sent to me by Donald Trump that was never seen in the mainstream media. It wasn't seen in the mainstream media. In fact, this video came from Young Pharaoh's video. Shout out to Young Pharaoh. Shout out to Matt Coley. Shout out to Will Johnson. Shout out to these brothers that are storming hard into what's really going on with Black Lives Matter. But going back to the speech that Donald Trump had spoken, or his speech wasn't televised on any media. And his speech featured that the power in this country want to maintain in power. Now, let me slip off the topic for a little bit and talk about the right. Because when it comes to power, do you think the people on the right want to lose their power? Absolutely not. Power is contagious. And within power, there's corruption. But what these Democrats want to do, they want to utilize the media to basically discredit all conservative thought. The Democrats want to utilize corporations such as Google, Facebook, and Twitter to discredit all conservative thought. The Democrats are already utilizing all of your colleges and universities to discredit conservative thought. Now, Donald Trump did put out an executive order to these colleges, and he stated that if you do not allow a diversity of thought in your institutions, he's going to defund your university. Now, it's troubling to me that African Americans are still living on the plantation, because many of them, particularly your African American women, are going to vote for the Democrats. Meanwhile, when we talk about this Black Lives Matter movement, I don't hear Black Lives Matter talking about all the aborted babies that black women had. I don't hear Black Lives Matter talking about black on black crime. And every weekend, I hear crime getting worse in Baltimore, Detroit, Philadelphia, Los Angeles, Chicago, even Indianapolis and Columbus and Atlanta. Their crime is starting to rise. Also, when you have the defunding of police. Now, talking about the police for a moment. One of the things that I can tell you about police officers, there are some police officers who were probably KKK members in the past. They wanted to get onto the police force so they can assault African Americans. And this has been happening for a long time. But if the Democrats were caring people and Black Lives Matter were caring people, how come Black Lives Matter wasn't established in the past? How come the Democratic Party didn't talk about police brutality in the past? The reason why is the Democratic Party is your party of Satan. They're your party of the Klan. The Democratic Party wants to take down everything that involves God. But many of us don't see that, because what's happening out here is you have the Democratic Party, particularly your left-wing ideologues, they're using divide and conquer. And what they're drumming up is a civil war between Christianity and non-Christianity. And if you look at this country is definitely divided. Now, you have the polls that are saying Joe Biden is in the lead. But you have to look at, how is Joe Biden being polled? You're looking at the swing states. And if you think about it, if you're voting Democrat and you're one of these swing states, you have to look at the major cities within your states. And all of the major cities are run by Democrats. And I know I hear black people talking about oppression. How are you oppressed when in Atlanta the mayor is black, the DA is black, in Washington, D.C., the mayor is black, in Chicago, the mayor is black, in Los Angeles, they have a Hispanic mayor. You have areas where you have black mayors, and in Seattle, you have a black police chief. In Michigan, you have a female governor. In Seattle, you have a female mayor. So one has to ask, how are people oppressed? How is racism systematic? Is there something written in the policy that blacks have to still sit in the back of the bus, drink out of a different water fountain? What you have is the Democrats playing identity politics. They've been playing identity politics for years. And at the end of the day, the Democratic Party, they're funding Black Lives Matter. Corporations are funding Black Lives Matter. And if you look at Antifa, they're also part of this movement. At the end of the day, looking at the Black Lives Matter structure, Black Lives Matter is not for black people. Black Lives Matter is for feminism and LGBTQ agendas. Now, I have nothing against the LGBTQ community, but feminism is another brand of Marxism. That's when women are being used. And for all of you individuals who are out there marching, protesting, you all have to ask yourself, what's the real agenda out here? Many of these protesters are young kids. Many of these protesters come from college. And the place where all of these indoctrinations have gone on for the past 60 years have been in your colleges. A lot of your colleges are liberal. In fact, what you have when we talk about diversity, and I did a video on it, it's cultural Marxism. And when you have Marxism, Marxism is going to lead to socialism, communism. And you have a number of these individuals who don't understand that communism killed a lot of people. You had individuals like Genghis Khan, Mao Zedong, Lenin, Stalin. Had a number of individuals who were totalitarian. Now, the Democrats, a lot of them don't like this country, but they're benefiting off this country. And the person that's really standing in their way is Donald Trump. That's the real problem. I mean, you look at what's happened here in 2020. We had the COVID. And that COVID sent a lot of people home. A lot of unemployment applications were filled out. We had the stimulus check. Now I believe there's a second round of COVID coming out. And if you look at the Democratic Party, these are the individuals who don't believe in God. They don't believe in family. They don't believe in anything traditional. They don't believe in fathers. They want a welfare state. And when you vote Democrat, you're voting for Satan. You're voting for poverty. You're voting for violence in your cities. You're voting for single motherhood. You're voting for abortion. I'm not going to say everybody who is part of the LGBTQ movement is a liberal. because you do have some who are in alternate lifestyles who vote Republican. But one must understand that your Democrats founded the KKK. Now, a lot of people believe that the KKK just hanged black people. Well, the KKK was founded by Democrats to basically eliminate Republicans. Now, most of your Republicans were black, but there were also whites who were Republicans. Now, let me add this in to the mix. When it comes to feminism, who founded feminism? A Jewish woman by the name of Betty Friedan. Gloria Steinem, who was another Jewish woman, was part of feminism. And again, I told you feminism is another form of Marxism. And if you don't understand what Marxism is, Marxism was started by a German philosopher by the name of Karl Marx. But moving on, the Democratic Party is using the media to deceive people from voting. And here's how they're doing it. Every week, there are new polls that are being pushed out by the media where Biden is in the lead. And they're doing that to basically keep Trump voters from going to the polls. The Democrats are also using the COVID scare against the Trump rallies. But the reason why that's not going to work, because when George Floyd was killed by white police officers, what happened to the COVID scare? It went out the window because you had a number of protesters who weren't practicing social distancing. Now, when it comes to the COVID scare now, it's not a lot of people who are 60 and over getting symptoms. It's younger people. Now, younger people can get through the virus much faster than older people. But going back to the founder of Black Lives Matter, and I'm going to do a Blog Talk Radio show next week on the Marxist doctrine. When you have a number of these black nationalist movements, you have to find out where it was founded. Now, I know some brothers out there love the Black Panthers, but the Black Panthers, of course, they had good intention. But you can look this up. They were founded via the Marxist agenda or the Marxist doctrine. Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter is not for black people. In fact, you have a number of people. Look at Bubba Wallace. He has Black Lives Matter on his car. He's the biracial NASCAR driver that said he had a noose in his garage. Find out later on, it wasn't a noose where they hang people. It was a rope used to open and close the garage door. Now, when it comes to Black Lives Matter, they're there to recruit black people to join their movement of Marxism. Now, when it comes to all these Democratic governors, all these Democratic mayors, all these Democratic police chiefs, their cities are in shambles. And if you look at Black Lives Matter is eating their own. Because at the end of the day, when it comes to voting, what you are seeing now is being imaged in people's minds. They're not going to go to the polls and vote for Biden. But the media is telling individuals they need to vote for Biden. The media is telling individuals that Black Lives Matter is good. The media is telling Democrats that they are the party of the people. The Democrats don't care about the people. The Democrats care about staying in power. And the Democrats are going to use all means necessary. And when it comes to this mail-in voting, I'm skeptical of that because this mail-in voting means that there could be some inaccuracies in voting. Now, let me back that up. When I lived in Maryland, there was a race going on between Republican Ellen Soubry and Paris R. Glendening. And the reason why Paris R. Glendening won the popular vote to become governor of Maryland is because the Democrats had dead people voting and they had individuals in jail voting. The Democrats are going to find any way to get Donald Trump out of office. And a vote for Biden means that we step into communism because there's a lot of transactions going on that we don't know about. But at the end of the day, the deep state is alive and well on the Democratic Party. The problem is there's not enough conservative voices to draw out all the information. I mean, you have Fox News, and I'm kind of fuzzy about Fox News now because you have people now like Chris Wallace. He's going over to the left. You have Juan Williams. He's definitely left wing. And you have others that are left wing. Fox News doesn't have its repertoire like it used to because the big gun on there, Bill O'Reilly, is not on Fox News. Now you have Newsmax. You have conservative talk radio. But going back to Black Lives Matter, this is an organization that is run by women. It was founded by women and it's ruled by women. And when you follow a woman, you follow someone who's emotionally unstable. I'm not saying all women are like that, but a number of them are. And these Black Lives Matter women do not like men. I don't care what color you are. These are man-hating women. And they will do nothing to stop at meeting their agenda of Marxism. And let me tell you something. You individuals who are Democrats, decent Democrats, I guarantee many of you have never lived in Marxist countries. When you live under a totalitarianist style of government, you live under a government that is going to brutalize its citizens eventually. They keep their citizens poor. There's no innovation in Marxist countries. Everything is run by government. The people that make all the money are the bureaucrats. And if you look at America, you got the big corporations, big guns like Bill Gates, George Soros. I think these guys are part of what's going on. They have all the money and they want to have control over all of us. And when I'm telling you about this Marxism, when it comes to we black people, we're just being used as a stepping stone to promote the Marxist agenda through democratic race baiting. But many of us don't know that as African Americans because we're so caught up in the moment. You look at religion. You don't see any black pastors out here going against Black Lives Matter. Have not heard one pastor. You don't hear any pastors out here talking about abortion. Again, you don't hear Black Lives Matter talk about abortion. You don't even hear college professors talk about abortion. You don't hear anybody talk about black on black crime. That should tell you right then and there that if you are an African American, your life doesn't matter. You're just being used as part of the movement. But many of us who are African Americans, we don't read enough. We take something that we hear on TV and we run with it. Cultural Marxism is alive and well. And many of us need to wake up, because if we don't wake up, our country is going to be gone. I don't care whether you're a Democrat or Republican, when you are the average person in this country, we have to depend on policies for our lives because we don't have enough money. We don't make enough money. But if you look at the corporations, you look at the government, they're in bed together. You look at free speech. Free speech is being taken away through Microsoft, Twitter, YouTube, which is part of Google, the media. And in a totalitarian country, the way people on the left become more emboldened is to take away people on the right. Now, Black Lives Matter people don't understand this. Once the goal of Marxism has been met, guess what the powers are going to do to Black Lives Matter? They're going to kill them off too, because they don't need them. Because at the end of the day, the people in power want to maintain their power. They don't want their power to be threatened. That's why they want to invoke policies to destroy the little guy. Now again, Black Lives Matter is also utilizing Saul Alinsky. Saul Alinsky has rules for radicals. I did a video on Saul Alinsky. In fact, I posted his rules for radicals in a link. And that video was recorded and uploaded 2 weeks ago. You need to read the rules for radical. You need to understand the Weather Underground. Bill Ayers, who was a college professor in Chicago, was part of the Weather Underground. And if you look at Black Lives Matter, they're a terrorist group. And many of the statues that are being destroyed, these protesters don't even know who the individuals were. In fact, in Wisconsin, they destroyed a statue of an abolitionist. Now, an abolitionist was against slavery, but they didn't know that because they weren't told that that statue was an abolitionist. And part of Marxism is to destroy history as we know it, so future generations won't know that slavery took place. But at the end of the day, you can take down all the statues. Unless you burn all the documentation and all the books, history has already been documented and recorded. But African Americans, you need to wake up, because Black Lives Matter is not for you. They're not for black causes. They're for feminism, and they're for the LGBTQ community. And again, I believe her name was Alicia Garza, one of the co-founders of the Black Lives Matter movement. She's a lesbian. And her goal is Marxism, which in Marxism is feminism. And she's about the LGBTQ community. Now, she has some black people in her organization, but these black people don't know what's going on. They're alongside the terrorist group Antifa. And these white people who are white liberals don't care anything about black people, because at the end of the day, they're going to go into their white neighborhood and they're going to have protection. And see, what these communists who are part of Black Lives Matter don't want. They don't want Second Amendment. They don't want First Amendment. They don't want capitalism. They don't want good schools. They don't want families. They don't want fathers. They don't want patriarchy. They don't want any structure. They want lawlessness. They want to defund the police. They don't want military. They want totalitarianism. And again, in a totalitarianist country, the people who are bureaucrats, they're the ones who are the rulers. And they will do nothing to rid themselves of power. But we who are regular freedom fighters, need to continue to put out messages, because this country is going down the drain. And many on the right who are conscious people are just sitting out there letting it happen. The Republicans aren't saying anything. Because, believe it or not, people on the right want power too. It's just the people on the left are exuberating it a lot more. Because these people on the left, they're racist. There's white guilt. They don't like black people. They think we're idiots. They think we got to follow white liberals. And black people who are on the side of white liberals are just as bad, because at the end of the day, if you vote for these liberals, you're on a plantation and you'll never be free. And when it comes to every election, the Democrats are always going to play identity politics. But as a regular citizen, we have to basically be our own police, because Marxism is going to be here and our freedom is going to be gone if we allow people like Black Lives Matter and Antifa to continue to tell us what we need to do. Because at the end of the day, we don't want these people taking down Jesus. We don't want these people canceling everything like the national anthem. We want these individuals to allow us to be free. If Black Lives Matter and Antifa don't like this country, go live in another country. Because at the end of the day, there's a war going on between good and evil. And what we have to do is wake up and fight. Because at the end of the day, you want peace or you want war. And that's my commentary for this edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. If you like what I just presented, please comment, share, and subscribe. Also check out my Mind of STEM and my Blog Talk radio show every weekend. Number is 215-383-5785. If you can't find me on YouTube or Blog Talk Radio, look for me on Facebook. Leave you with this. Be blessed for what you have. Don't worry about what you don't have. Always know that the sun rises in the east, sets in the west. Thank you for listening to this video on 401 Talk Zone radio show. Once again, have a wonderful and blessed night. My name is Leon Jones. I'm out.